I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
And I want to begin by telling you a story about my stepfather, Howard. He's not in this picture. In fact, Howard had strong opinions. Howard hated hippies. He hated long hair. And he hated the peace and love movement with a particular focused passion. He especially hated the song, If You're Going to San Francisco, because he loved San Francisco and lived much of his life in the city, and he thought that song was an insult to San Francisco. I'm sure you know it. Be sure to wear some flowers in your hair, which some of you are still doing. And of course, he hated all those things, and I loved all those things, right? Being, I was 16 when Howard brought me into his life, when he grabbed my stepmom from Southern California and me and brought us from Long Beach, California to Pacifica, California. Howard and I just disagreed about everything, right? In fact, he made me keep my hair so short that my hair could not touch my ears, right? As soon as it did, down to the barbershop we went and got a cut. And, of course, everybody at that time in 1968, right? If you were cool, you had long hair, right? And I looked like everybody thought I was the narc that showed up from Southern California, right? All my friends are out behind the school building getting high, right? And I, of course, knew nothing about that after 3 years in military academy. So, did we get into it? We talked, we fought. Sometimes there'd be silence. We wouldn't talk to each other for days or even weeks after an argument. And I'm like, I'm much bigger than this. I'm going to just give him space and stay away from him. And I was practicing what I thought was non-attachment at the time. But what I was really doing was festering, right? Here I am, a unity minister, preaching love and forgiveness and oneness for all life every single Sunday. And inside, when it came to Howard, I was unable and unwilling to forgive him. So I kind of put up the walls in my life, and anytime I was around him, my store was shut. I have gone fishing, Howard. I want nothing to do with you. Lights out, nobody home. I tried to be warm to him. I generally tried, but I felt kind of like I was trying to start a car with a dead battery with no ignition. And then, about 2 years ago, a niece of mine said to me, Uncle Blaine, Howard was kind of mean to you. And I thought, wow, he was mean to me, right? He never liked anything I did. He never liked any of my friends. He hated everything that I was into. And, he really wanted me to be a sheet metal worker like he was. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be an actor or a minister or something else, teacher. But he was mean, not in like an abusive way or sexually abusing me, but he psychologically abused me, right? Just by not ever acknowledging who I was or what my individual qualities that I brought. And of course, when you're 16, what do you know, right? I showed up in his life. His kids are 8 and 12 years older than me, right? He'd been a dad. He dealt with teenagers, and here I showed up again to say, ooh, Wow. But in some way, what I've noticed is that some people are not out of malice as so much out of their own unexamined pain, who they are, right? And I know that he showed up in my life with his unexamined pain, and here I am reflecting my adolescent pain. And once my niece named what it was, I was able to go, wow, that's what's really affecting me. That's what's happening in my life. So I began to work. And this is really just a few years ago. I've been a minister for, I had to think about it, 25 years. And I know I don't look like I'm that old. But I began that forgiveness work, and I'm like pushing it, and I'm like taking one step back, and I'm trying to be present, and I'm trying to forgive myself. I'm doing the affirmations. I'm doing the denials. And I sat with it. I prayed about it. I wrote about it. I called God in on it. Like, I want to forgive this guy. And it wasn't happening. Right? And here's the thing. Howard was already dead. There was no conversation to have. There was no closure to manufacture. No apology coming. What was going to happen between Howard and me was just going to happen within me. So I kept working, I kept pushing and trying to arrive at forgiveness like it was a destination I could force myself into, that I could reach if I just tried hard enough. And then one day, I can't exactly tell you when, but I realized something had changed. Not because I had finally pushed it and forced it open, but because somewhere in the quiet, something was released. The simmer, the hatred, the anger was gone. And what was there, I didn't expect. What do you think it was? Love. Love. I felt love and appreciation for this man, to realize, what my experience in his life was, right? And I started to look at, what he brought to my life. He gave me a place to live. He gave me food. He gave me clothes. They weren't always the ones I wanted. I had Foremost jeans when everybody else had Levi jeans, right? And if you're from that time, at that time, and I had fake Converse shoes, right? They were the knockoffs. They weren't the real thing, right? Because supposedly we couldn't afford to have Jack Purcell's or Converse shoes, so I had the ones that Walmart or someplace sold. But I started to look at him and realize, for whatever his failures were, he gave me these things. And the best thing, he loved my stepmother, right? He loved my stepmother, and my stepmother loved me. And what I realized now, looking back, in his kind of sandpaper way of being with me, that I could not have learned something if it wasn't for him being around, right? I'm stronger because of Howard. I'm more compassionate because of Howard. I find that I'm more compassionate towards difficult people because of Howard, right? Because I realize that the difficult people push something in me, right? It's not because they're so difficult. It's because I'm resistant to how I am around them. I want something else, right? I want them to be something else so life is easy for me. Anybody relate to that? So, the ancient So the question that I began to ask is, what wants to happen now? With my relationship with Howard, it's like, what wants to happen now? Instead of what do I have to make happen, what in the universe wants to happen now? Ever had a similar experience? Ever had something similar in your life when you tried to push to make something happen? And you push and you push and you push and you push and you keep hitting a wall, right? Because when we push, what happens? When we push, what happens? She's pushing back, right? Because when we push, we create resistance, right? And the universe, other people push back. So we're talking about Wu Wei today. It's an ancient Taoist principle that I think is kind of widely misunderstood. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It doesn't mean quitting or resignation or being spiritually passive. The literal meaning of Wu Wei means non-forcing. Action that arises from alignment rather than from grasping, from attunement rather than aggression. Lao Tzu wrote the Tao Te Ching about 2,500 years ago. And I like this quote of his. 10,000 things rise and fall. The Tao simply watches. There is no forcing. There is only returning. Returning to the Tao. Returning to the knowledge. Returning to the truth. Returning to the peace. Returning and realizing that we're in the flow, even when we step on things and almost trip. Right? You know, we've been formed by our families, by our schools, by our culture, by our economy to believe that more effort equals results, right? If we can't get something to happen, we're taught, push harder. You can make it happen, right? You have the ability. Push, do it. Don't take no for an answer, right? If something isn't happening fast enough, the solution is to push harder, think longer, try more. And what's interesting, science has discovered, is that what happens to the brain when we push, right, and we move into forcing mode. And when we do that, when we get into forcing mode, it limits our creativity, right? It's almost like when we're afraid, our brain goes, I'm afraid. How can I get out of here? There's that door, right? And the same thing happens when we try to force to make things happen. We move out of our prefrontal brain and we lose our ability to be creative. And we're into a fight and flight mode. Beneath the noise of our striving, something is already moving. In each of us, in you, there is a movement. There is a movement of the Tao, call it the Tao, or spirit, or love, or wisdom that is happening within you. And this talk is really about how can I connect with that, right? How can I stop forcing and be in the moment, in the love, in the possibility that's right here in this moment? You know, every tradition points to the same teaching. The Taoists call it the Tao. It's the underlying intelligence, right? The current that runs through all things. It's a wordless pattern beneath the visible world that we have access to. In unity, we call it the allness. We call it divine mind. We call it spirit. We call it divine wisdom that we have within us that we all have access to. And I love what Jesus said. And he's probably one of the best examples of using the Wu Wei Taoist principle. He said, "The Father who dwells in me, he does the work." And he's, speaking in those terms, but he's really saying the Spirit in me, the love within me, the power within me is what does the work. And I want to be clear that what he's talking about, he's not saying do nothing and just hope for the best, right? The lily doesn't force the bloom. It just shows up, right? And so he's saying to us, just show up. Come from a place of love. Be present in the moment. And I like what the Sufi poet Rumi said. He wrote about a reed leaf, a reed that was plucked, cut, and then turned into a flute, right? And he said that the reed longs for the rest of it, right? It longs for the rest of it. And in the same way, we long for that presence of love and light that is the essence of who we are, right? And when we're trying to make things happen, we're not connected to the essence and that truth that wants to experience and move in and through and as us. Wu Wei is not doing nothing. Like two negatives make a positive, right? So Wu Wei is doing something, but it's doing it from a different place. And it's really about asking what wants to happen here, right? What wants to happen in our lives when we are in a situation where we're facing a difficult situation? What if we ask, not what can I do? What do I have to do? How can I make this happen? But what wants to happen in this situation? For me, I realized this and I asked myself, what is it that wants to happen with me and Howard? And what I realized, as we said earlier, it's love, right? The universe is always asking us to love, to remember that place within us, to call upon that love. So I have 3 practices to move from forcing to flowing. And the first one I call the pause before the plan. So before you have an urgent situation that you feel like you need to respond to, before you act out of impulse, before you act out of got to get this done now, you take a moment and you ask, what wants to happen here? You're in a conflict or a disagreement, or you have a difficult decision to make. Instead of pondering it, worrying about it, stressing about it, just ask what wants to happen here. What is it that the universe wants? What is it, I like this, what is it that love wants? And I think you'll find that you approach the situation in a very different way. And the second part is, the second practice is to pay attention to when things move in your life without forcing, right? It's to pay attention to the coincidences that happen in your life. And this is kind of a larger practice, right? To just be aware when things happen that feel like they're magic or they feel like they're synchronistic. When you're thinking about somebody, I was thinking about Amora yesterday, and she showed up here today. I'm like, I gotta call you because I've been missing you. And, I had the thought yesterday, I got to call him more. And then I forgot about it. And she heard the call that I didn't make, and she showed up. But to me, that shows me the power that we have in setting an intention and connecting with the universe. The universe is here. We are creating what's happening in the universe based upon our consciousness, right? Based upon love. I believe it's love that brought you here today, right? So pay attention to what's happening in your life when things feel like, oh, isn't that interesting? That felt so easy. Right? You ever notice how things, when you're in the right state of mind, things just flow? Right? Ames is, how many songs have you written recently? 90. He's going for 100 songs, and I believe that's because he's in the space of allowing that to happen. Marianne told me the other day, I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm looking, where's Ames, right? He's not there. And she realized, oh, doggone guy's out writing a song again, for Pete's sake, in the middle of the night, right? Why in the middle of the night? Because you're open and receptive, right? You're not thinking about, oh, I have to do this, oh, I have to do that, but you're receptive to getting that wisdom. And we all have that access to that truth, to that power, to that wisdom. You have it. But we need to condition our minds, our spirit, to accepting it and to look for it. Right? In Unity, we call this divine order, right? We know that things happen at the right time when we have the consciousness and are open to what Spirit wants to deliver through us. And the third practice is I'm calling contemplative discernment. Right? And this is, kind of the main idea behind this is to be discerning when a situation happens that's challenging. And God forbid, I wish our leaders in our world and our country had this idea. But the thought is, if this solution were already resolved in the highest good for everyone involved, what would happen? So when you have an opportunity, a challenge, a question, something is a decision to make, what if you ask, what is for the highest good of everybody? Right? Not just what is the highest good for me. What does the universe want? What does love want? What is for the highest good? Right? Just ask it and see what arises. A word, a feeling, an idea, a quiet certainty. And it may not come immediately. My forgiveness didn't happen immediately, but I set that intention for it to happen. And it kind of happened when I wasn't looking. Right? Things often happen when they're supposed to happen, not when I want them to. I hate that part. Right? So, contemplative discernment is the difference between engineering a future and receiving one. Right? Rather than trying to make it happen, be open to Spirit. I see so many people that go through their life so anxious, right? Because they want to make everything happen the way they want it to happen, right? I'm going to do it my way. Damn it, right? And how does that work? You will find that those people aren't very much at ease, are they? Instead of, we can put out what we want, but then at the same time, what is for the good of everyone? How can I relax into this? And the truth is, the river already knows. The Tao already knows. Spirit already knows. Right? We don't have to make things happen. We get to be in the flow of the creative process. You know, I spent years in sort of a low-grade war with my stepfather, Howard. Years of simmering. Years of being shut down. Years of being like the dead battery in the car that wouldn't start. And I look back at it now and go, wow, how much energy did I waste thinking about that, worrying about that, not being totally willing to forgive and wanting things to be the way that I wanted. Because I knew I was right. Right, of course. And forgiveness didn't come when I finally forced it. It came when something inside of me got tired of forcing. When I loosened my grip just enough to let the intelligence, the Tao, the Christ presence that's already moving in my life happen. Howard gave me a home. Howard loved my stepmother. Howard, in his rough way, taught me a lot about life. Gave me the essence of this talk. So, I say this directly to you. So what are you gripping? What outcome are you trying to force? What relationship are you trying to fix? Right? What decision are you trying to manufacture? Or future? Or trying to make something happen through the exhaustion of your own will? Right? The intelligence that set the stars in their courses knows the way through your situation. It knew before you arrived. It has been working on it while you are sleeping, worrying, making your lists. It has not abandoned you. It has not forgotten you. It is waiting for you to figure out the right formula. Maybe waiting for you to ask a better question. So stop asking, what should I do? And ask, what wants to happen here? You see the difference? Right? What wants to happen in you, through you, in your life, in your relationships, in the things that challenge you? Because the intelligence of the Tao, of the Christ, of the universe is already working in your life, and it's ahead of you. So let's just take a breath, take a moment, and I invite you to close your eyes, and we'll do a brief meditation. And just breathing in and breathing out. And know that this is a safe place, that everyone here in this room is gathered in the essence and the truth of love. To be loved, to share love. All the energy and the life and the light in this room, in the universe, on this island, is here to love you, to remind you of who you are, to see you experiencing the fullness of the truth and the light and the wisdom that you are. Breathing in. And as you breathe in, I invite you to think or to whisper inside your mind, just for yourself, something that you have been forcing. Something you feel you should do. Maybe a relationship. A situation that you've been white-knuckling, hanging on to. You don't have to let it go perfectly. Just loosen the grip. Just a little. Just enough to ask, what wants to happen here? What wants to happen here? And trust and know that something is already answering your question. Breathing in and breathing out. And as you rest and let all this go, I want to share a blessing that I wrote for you today. May you leave this place a little less clenched than when you arrived. May you find in the days ahead the courage to pause, to breathe before you push, to listen before you act, and to ask the question that changes everything. What wants to happen here? May you begin to recognize the moments when life moves without forcing. And may you receive them not as a coincidence, but as evidence of an intelligence that has never stopped working on your behalf. When you're tempted to white knuckle what was never entirely yours to control, may something in you remember Jesus' words in the lilies in the field. May something in you remember that the river already knows the way. And may you discover, perhaps slowly, perhaps all at once, that the thing you have been straining toward has been moving toward you the entire time. Quietly, faithfully, with a force that does not tire and a wisdom that does not fail. Go now with open hands. Go now with a listening heart. Go now trusting the same intelligence that turns winter into spring, that turns grief into grace, and that turned my festering into love. It is already right now at work in you. What wants to happen in your life? Something beautiful. And it's already on its way. In our affirmation today, I'll say it and I invite you just to hear it. I release the need to force and control. I align with the intelligence already moving toward my highest good. What wants to happen, happens. I'm open. I am ready. I trust. Breathing in and allowing the essence of love to move in and through you right now, in this moment. Giving thanks for this day. For this moment. And for Ames and Marianne that are going to share Dream River with you. Why don't we say the prayer of protection together? So I invite you to stand. And so for ourselves, for the world, for this ministry, and for the truth that we are bringing into the world. And you might ask yourself, what does the world want from you? What does our country want to be? What does our world want to be? And then maybe to look, how do you fit in that? So for ourselves, for this ministry, for all life, let's pray together the prayer for protection, which begins, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. Thank you all for being here today. You bless me. You bless this ministry. Thank you to those of you watching us on Facebook.
Where I live, they're all raised.